Welcome, everybody, to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role-playing podcast hosted by two guys who are about as incompetent as the town guide in a high fantasy setting.
Oh, it's so accurate. I feel really bad for them as well, because like I'm going to be helpful. And then like adventurers come to town, they're like, I'm useless.
I mean, to be honest, I kind of proved my own point when I could barely finish the sentence.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just like extra immersion there for the listeners.
Yeah.
My name is John Santana.
I'm still Justin.
You are still Justin, my good buddy.
And it's just us. It hasn't been just us a while.
I mean, we've had some amazing guests on now.
We've met some awesome people. We've learned some awesome stuff as well. And it's been great, but it's nice to get back to usual.
It's getting back to you and I where we can,
waffle on
and make each other uncomfortable as much as humanly possible.
Exactly.
And, we can get back to pretending we actually like each other, which, I mean, that's it. That's really the hardest part of this job.
It is.
Just kind of going on there and just kind of going, for fuck's sake.
Deep down, me and John actually fell out about 2 weeks after we started the podcast. We haven't actually spoken in person. It's all been a lie.
So this is all smoke and mirrors, folks. This is all... the show must go on.
Yeah.
Not since Vin Diesel and The Rock has there been such a feud in entertainment as
my God, you did not just compare us to Vin Diesel and Wait, who's who in this situation? Would you be The Rock or Vin Diesel?
I would have to pull for The Rock because I can't fucking stand Vin Diesel.
See, I get that. However, you do wear far more of the merch. You do far more of the socials. I just kind of swing in, make an appearance, and swing out. So I think, in reality, you're the Vin Diesel of this franchise.
I could be the Vin Diesel. Yeah, I think I may be.
I'm The Rock.
Yeah,
And what can I say except you're welcome?
And I could just say family and Corona.
Family.
That whole thing about people taking the piss out of the family, that annoyed me, and I'll tell you why. Because, did you see all the memes about family after one of the Fast and the Furious movies? The thing that annoyed me the most about it is that Chris and I were making that joke about 3 years prior to when those memes came out. And it's like, you fucked. That's our joke.
And then you have to stop it because it was mainstream now, and
that's it. Then we had to stop saying it because then we were copying a nah, fuck that shit. No.
How have you been though, man?
I've been really good, man. I've been really good. Doing a lot of work behind the scenes, a lot of production. Again, we kind of I'm having to dig into new skills and stuff like that. So. The first episode, the bind one we did, taking far longer than I expected it to take, because again, it's a learning process. But I've gone back and forth between do I add sound effects, do I add ambience, and in the end, I've gone for no. I am not going to. I have remastered the audio. I've made us sound a bit clearer and a bit better, and that's it.
That's it. Thing, right? That's on brand for us. That'll do.
I mean, there's so many actual plays out there that that put all these sound effects in and all this. The amount of work that goes into producing each episode.
Yeah.
I found out the other day that some podcasts cut out filler words.
Yeah.
They
do.
To be fair, if I did that, then our runtime would be about 30 minutes.
would. It really would.
So I can't in good conscience do that, to be honest.
You'd be cutting out 90% of the content.
I would be cutting out 90% of the content. What else did I get up to? I got up to quite a few things.
You guys played some games.
We did play some games. We got into some Delta of Green. I can't do the same with Delta Green than I do with the Fabula Ultima, because every time I kind of go, oh, we were Deltaing the Green, people think I'm making a weed reference.
You were greening the Delta.
I was greening the Delta. I like that. I do like that. That is better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did play some Delta Green.
Because
things.
I got the update when I was at a work meal. And I'm sitting there at the table having work conversations, and then my phone goes, bzz, and I look down and there's a photo of you fucks sitting around the table, getting ready to roll dice.
Yeah,
there I am doing business stuff.
It was good. We definitely dialed up the intensity.
Yes.
Things happened. So hopefully you can join us for the next session. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm going to kill your character off screen.
That's fine. I have a backup.
Is your backup you?
Yes.
Well, that character's going to die.
Oh yeah,
that character's dead. So we'll discuss.
He just doesn't know it yet.
I also did a bit more rolling on Sunday as I played some more of the Kingmaker campaign.
Oh, nice.
That was good. A nice little bit of inter-party conflict. Some choices were made regarding some bandits that could have lived, but then they didn't. And yeah, a certain champion was not best pleased. So I'm gonna be, polishing off my wooden spoon. What else? Oh, and lastly, I now have everything ready for just under a week, where we will be recording episode 2 of Critting the Nerdverse.
So excited.
The story, the heist is set, the stakes are set.
Yeah.
I think it's just your character we need to kind of look into bring into level, but other than that, we are good to go, and the Rebel Claws will return.
The Rebel Claws will ride again.
And yeah, did I tell you we picked out a character image for you?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Strongly disagree.
So yeah, your character image is basically
winning the Puberty elf.
Rogue Santa's elf version of Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Rogue.
Winnie the Rogue. Or Winnie the Shit.
Oh my god. Well, I have not rolled any dice this week, apart from I have been dabbling in some character building.
Oh, character building. All right, what hath thou come up with?
Had a couple of interesting concepts. So, one of the concepts that I had, which I kind of know what I'm doing with it, but I kind of don't at the same time, was I was listening to some good old Five-Finger Death Punch, because, as you do.
Yeah.
And they have a song called Jekyll and Hyde, which obviously then made me think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that classic story, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be really fun to play that as a character, right? So a really intelligent, scientist-y guy, but when combat begins, he loses his shit and he turns into this monstrosity, right?
Right.
Now, 5e has a class that would be perfect for it, and it has like shifters as a race as well. Now, I'm building all of these in 5e because that's mostly what I play. So the class would be an artificer or artificer, depending on how you pronounce it. Everyone pronounces it differently, it seems. Because
I say artificer.
Well, that's because you're a weirdo. But they have a subclass called alchemist, who basically they mix potions and stuff like that, which I think is perfect for the whole, Dr. Jekyll element, right? But one of the really cool things with the Artificer is their melee combat isn't done on strength or dexterity. They can roll their intelligence modifier for their attacks and stuff.
Right.
So I think, again, that kind of means I don't have to like have two really high stats and have him be like super butch, but also really clever. Like he can be this weak, frail looking guy, but when combat hits, he's still effective in combat because he uses his intelligence rather than his strength, right? But he still hulks out and turns into like, because he's got the shifter race, he still has those like animal-like appearance and he shifts into that animal form. So I thought that'd be a really cool concept.
I think you'd probably do better in Pathfinder with that.
Probably.
Because in first edition you had the vigilante class, which you effectively played two characters. You played your social persona, then you played your you played your Bruce Wayne and your Batman, and they were very, very distinct characters. So you could effectively just have your two characters. In second edition, it's not so much a class as it is an archetype, but it functions a very similar way. So I think that would probably lend it better to what you want to do. But you could always port something over to 5e. I mean, there's God knows people do it all the time.
Homebrewed everywhere, as well. But that's not the character that I'm most excited for. Now, I have been obviously staying in hotels a lot, as you know, which means I've had a lot of spare time to basically binge watch Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, etc., etc., etc. Insert streaming platform here, right?
Yes.
So one of the shows that I watched fairly quickly was the show called The Bear. I don't know if you've seen it.
Is that the chef? It's about chef.
Yeah, basically, he inherits his brother's restaurant and he's like trying to turn it into it's like a sandwich bar that he inherits, but he tries to turn it into like a Michelin star restaurant, right?
Okay.
And it kind of got me thinking about a really cool character concept of a guy whose sole purpose of going adventuring was he had a restaurant. It got terrible reviews from the critics because the menu was just unoriginal and uninspired. So business slowed down, restaurant failed. So he's like, nah, screw this. He's going out adventuring to try and learn new recipes and figure out new recipes and stuff to open a new restaurant. And that's his whole purpose of going out, is he wants to try like using ingredients like goblin meat or dragon meat, stuff that's never been used before, to try and create these recipes. So with the eventual aim of he wants to open a 5-claw restaurant, which in my head is like a Michelin stars, right? I know Michelin stars only go to 3, but it's 5 claws. Fuck you.
Yeah, in your narrative, it's 5 claws. I can get behind that. Yeah.
So that's what he's after, right?
Okay.
And I was actually talking about this with one of our regulars, Daryl, and we kind of spiced it a little bit as well. So because obviously he's constantly scribbling in this like big leather tome, right? And I decided to build him as an artificer as well. I've kind of gone down a bit of an artificer rabbit hole recently.
Right.
Because there's a few things that artificers can do that are quite cool. But I also really like the concept of, because he's got this big leather tome and he can cast magic and all this sort of thing, people just think he's a wizard. So they sign him onto the party thinking he's a wizard, but he's not. He's just a chef.
I mean, I was going to mention this, but Couch has mentioned it in the chat. That concept
Dungeon
is quite
delicious.
Big in a lot of animes, because our friend Chris, he was telling me about another one similar to that. And maybe obviously you've got the backstory of the restaurant and all that. I don't know how that. I don't watch enough anime to be able to kind of know if that ties in, but it could, it could work. It is a good. I mean, it is a good concept for a backstory, but how would you implement it? Because obviously, if we're talking like your D20 systems and all that, how would you implement it as a mechanic, as it were?
Well, interestingly enough, in 5e, there is I think it's either a feat or something where there's basically a chef is like a feat or a class. It's not a class thing, but let me just find the character because I have actually started building him. I think use this one. I have far too many character sheets. Is this him?
I haven't built an actual character in so long.
I built far too many. So there's a feat that you can have in 5e, which is Chef, which lets you basically prepare food and stuff for the party. But when you're preparing food, so like when you're doing your like nighttime downtimes or your morning, making breakfast or whatever, if someone with the Chef feature is preparing those meals, it can actually provide buffs and stuff to the party. So that's where it becomes kind of like he's a bit of a utility character. Because like one of the other flavor things that we had is he carries this massive shield on his back, but the shield's actually just a wok. It's not a shield.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that. So yeah, essentially he becomes, he'd be built as a bit of a utility character. So he'd be a support character, who's, like I say, just mainly out there to get these recipes and stuff like that. And I'm really looking forward to playing it.
I see now you've got me thinking. Because what I would do to kind of build on that concept, right? I'd probably do the.
Am I Couch? Couch says I'm describing the dwarf from Dungeon is Delicious.
I need to like bring that back up. No, because what I was thinking, what you could do, right, is you could do like a rogue monk multi-class with that chef feat. And you could have Steven Seagal's character from Under Siege. He's a chef. He does knives, and he kicks the shit out of people.
Yeah. I think that's going like the other way there. That's like chef who's just kicking the shit out of people rather than chef who's kicking the shit out of people to cook them. Right? Because basically every time we kill something, unless it's like human or elf or, insert generic playable race here, I'm cooking them.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, let's play devil's advocate in a high fantasy setting. I think humans could quite possibly be on the menu as well.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
Yeah. There's a high fantasy setting. I mean, weirder things have happened.
That line has always tickled me a little bit because it implies that orcs have restaurants.
Hey, fuck you. You never know. They may do.
I know, it's just really funny to me.
It's just like the whole.
After a hard day of raiding Gondor, I like nothing's going down to Orc Wendy's. getting a halfling burger with fries.
No. McDonald's.
Burger Sauron.
I'm just trying to think of more. Burger Five Kings.
the golden rings instead of the golden arches.
There we go. See, we're getting somewhere.
Oh god, we're building out an entire like fantasy fast food franchise.
But yeah, I definitely want credit for McDonald's because I think that's fucking brilliant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Couch has just sent me a picture of the dwarf from Delicious Dungeon, and yeah, it's that, except I wasn't gonna play a dwarf, but yes, it's basically a dwarf walking around with a wok on his back. Fuck's sake.
Well,
that's you anime.
I mean, to be fair, it's anime and everything has been done before in anime.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. If you think of it, there's an anime for it.
100%. It's kind of like the non-porn version of Rule 34.
Yes, it's exactly what it is.
Yes,
exactly.
Frieza did it.
Well, did Frieza do this? Yep. Okay.
So
that's the character.
Okay, fair enough. It does sound kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm actually like I've got like it's in my backpack down there, but I've actually got like a little leather notebook that I'm actually going to scribble down these recipes into as I'm making them up on the fly during sessions.
But the question is, when are you going to play this character?
Well, That's the real thing. Is Daryl is itching to DM some stuff, so he is invited. Basically, he was going to DM some stuff for like his family because there's like 3 or 4 people in that household that play D&D. And when I very excitedly messaged him like, character idea, I was like, do you want to join? I was like, yes. So I'm joining their family game, basically.
Fair enough. Someone offered me to join a D&D game on Sunday.
What a 5e game, you?
Yeah, they was like, "Hey, yeah, we're missing players. Do you want to play?" I went, "What are you playing?" They went 5e. I went, "Nope."
No. How about no, Scott?
So yeah, that's something that happened.
Yeah, good times. They clearly don't watch the show.
They clip. Exactly. They're not fans.
You should have been offended. You should have been offended.
Like, how dare you?
How dare you not watch the show?
Either that or they're confusing me and you.
Yeah, swap this round.
Yeah, they're
names do begin with a J. I'm just saying.
They're mixing up The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Easily done. Both big bald men.
It's easily done. Easily. I'm balding. It's fine.
I'm not.
I do have a few years on you though, so
this is true. You do, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that. I hit 40 with a full head of hair and a full eyesight. And then as soon as 40, it was like, you know what? We've come this far.
We're done. Bye.
Yeah, so you're gonna need glasses, you're gonna need to start shaving.
Punishment. We had a good run.
It was good while we lasted. We held on as long as we could. That beautiful black Spanish hair is no more.
Peace out, bitches. Right. I do believe that you had some topics for us this week.
I did.
It's just you and me, and we don't have a lovely guest to occupy most of the time.
No, I do. I do have a topic. And this is something that kind of occurred to me when I was on Casual Yelling podcast. And we were talking about tabletop role-playing games. We were talking, about different systems and this, that, and the other. And I said something that it was a bit off the cuff at the time. And I didn't really give it much thought. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've kind of gone, yeah, that's actually a point. There is something to that. And my question that I pose to you, Justin, and the listeners is, are GMs necessary in Pathfinder and 5e?
I think sometimes, not always.
I mean, because like I said, I'm kind of viewing this through the prism of Pathfinder, right? But I do see them having the same inherent sort of downsides, as it were. The downside is because the rules are available to all the players from the get-go, it means that the GM sort of prerogative is something that has to be added on to the game as opposed to other systems where it is part of the game. Let's take Blades in the Dark, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blades in the Dark, for example, you say, I want to do this. And that's when the conversation between the GM and the player happens. All right, how are you thinking? All right, I'm thinking it could be this. But there's also, we could use assess, we could use these different skills, we could use that. And there is a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
In the systems where the players have the rules, if a GM has to say, no, this is the way I'm running it, it's going against what the rules say to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because if a player says, "Oh no, I shouldn't be flat-footed because the rules say I shouldn't be," but then the GM goes, "Dude, you've just had sand kicked in your fucking face. You're going to be flat-footed." It's the GM call has to override the rules of the game. So theoretically speaking, if we were to remove that element and just have the players with the rule book and the stat blocks and adventure paths, then how necessary is a GM? And if so, what do they actually provide?
Yeah, I think for me, I would prefer to play with a DM or a GM, depending obviously on system of choice, right? Purely because if I know what's coming, it can be harder to not steer towards that, if you know what I mean. So I think just from a knowledge point of view, it's nice to have that shield, right? Of you don't know everything that's coming down the line. You can have a pretty good idea, but you don't know everything. I think can be quite good. Are they needed? I don't know. Absolutely not. I still think they are valuable to a degree, but absolutely. I mean, you could people in the chat are saying you could do it with, AI. You could probably DM a campaign through the AI tools that are out there now. But likewise, with the number of like random roll tables and encounter tables and stuff like that, no, absolutely, you could run an entire campaign without anyone sitting behind a screen, because you would just be, traveling down a coast. Okay, roll on the coastal encounter table. Okay, this is what we're encountering. Cool, let's fight. And you just take it in turns to also play the bad guys, right? Who would voice your NPCs? Couch asks.
Well, I mean, without me at the head of a table for Pathfinder, not all the NPCs will sound like they're from Yorkshire. It is. I mean, it is. I mean, I'm not saying let's do away with DMs and GMs or anything like that. I'm just saying that there are systems in which the role of a GM is massively downplayed now.
Yes.
Because I've felt it when I've been sat playing Pathfinder and I've been sat there, and it's just I am literally telling people what they already know. Does an 18 hit? Yes, it hit last time. So
I think that's where maybe it's that can kind of just be down to the table though. Like once I know what the AC is, I'll just roll, and if it's above what I know the AC is, I'll just tell you I've hit, this is the damage, or I've missed, this is this, whatever, move on. I think that also then comes down to the players, right? Because we have got, we know people that if you tell them the AC, they'll just roll their attacks and then tell you the damage, and you can crack on. Because I think like Chris got to that point in Pathfinder, didn't he? Because he had so many attacks, he would just be rolling while the rest of you were taking your turns. And then when it got round to him, he would just tell Scott the damage.
Yeah. And it has, it's, don't get me wrong, they do, GMs still serve a purpose, and they are still important, but I don't think they are 100% necessary. I think they
absolutely not.
They have become more adjudicators, and referees,
which is kind of sad.
Which is kind of sad because it kind of goes heavily onto the mechanics. It's like, I've understood this rule this way. It's like, well, no, I kind of see it this way. That's how we're going to run it. That is basically the main function. And, getting knobheads at the table to behave themselves. Yeah,
that's in any system.
That is in any system. But in others, like for example, we played Covenant Crucible.
Yes.
A couple of weeks back.
Fun.
But there, Stefan was the presence was needed. We needed Stefan for that game. We could not have run that without him.
Agreed, but how much of that was because we also were learning the rules while we were going?
Not as much as you would think. Not as much as you would think, because it's not a pre-written story. There was no pre-written module. It was Stefan reacting to what we did.
Yes, but you could do that same style of DMing in Pathfinder or D&D if you're not like if you're running a fully homebrewed thing and you don't prep past you guys meet here, right? Which is how some people run. I've met people that run like that. A friend of mine was telling me about a session they rocked up to in 5e where the only prep they had written down was goblins ?
Yeah, I run like that, but still, you know, the only thing I'm necessarily there for is to give them the story.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, you know, here's a creature. There you go. If you want, here's a stat block, knock yourselves out.
Yeah, I think that comes down to like the mechanics part of it though, because I think they're definitely still needed for story. I don't think they're needed for mechanics.
To be honest,
unless you're teaching.
I'm
teaching people how to play. Oh, I'm hitting buttons on my keyboard and stuff's happening. My bad.
No, I don't necessarily think they're 100% needed for story.
Oh, no, even then, I don't think they're needed, but I think that's what their main focus should be. I think the problem that we've had is, especially with things like, you know, Pathfinder, not so much 2e because that's quite new, but like D&D as a whole, Pathfinder from like first edition, people have had so long to play with those rules that they've started to get into but if you read it this way, you know, like the language police have come around and be like, well, technically that could mean this, right? And I think given enough time with a system, people will start to do that with another system.
I think it does. I think those systems, I mean, this is kind of a bit tangential, but I do think those systems promote an unhealthy style of play.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think they do create this sort of, we're going to milk the system. We're going to milk it for everything it's worth. We're going to, optimize. We're going to tweak and this, that, and the other, which if you're into that, great, go play Warhammer.
No, because Warhammer's on dice rolls and we know that dice don't like me.
Dice haven't been too bad to you lately.
No, I think we played a system where mediocre rolls are good. Because that's the thing, I don't roll terribly, but I roll like between like 5 and 10. And that's the difference, you know what I mean? Because the only time dice have been good to me was when we played Common Crucible, where those mid-tier rolls are god-tier rolls.
Aiming for that 13.
Exactly, yeah. And that's a very common roll for me.
I think anything between 5 and 9 is a common roll for you.
It is, and that's why the dice looked like they were being friendly to me. They weren't. Being just as cruel as ever.
That was a really cool fucking session, though.
It was so good, and I can't wait for everyone to see it because I want to talk about it more.
Yeah, let me get this producing done.
Back to the topic.
Yes, back to the topic.
I mean, again, I don't think they're necessary. Like, I think we can agree on that. They're not necessary. Like, I could pull out for 5e, for example. I've got Xanathar's, which has got tables and tables of like pre-gen encounters, and then you would just need the monsters manual to find the creatures, right? The books that you could buy, they're like 30 quid a pop. Done, right? And you could run loads of sessions just from that. I think what you would need is you would need a story to go along that. And that's where I feel like someone needs to be not necessarily guiding the story, but someone needs to be putting that story in front of you, because otherwise there's not really why are you just walking down this coast? Like, what's the purpose for it, right? And that's where I think having not necessarily a DM, but like a storyteller that's guiding, giving you a reason to go to that beach and have that encounter. Because otherwise there's just no purpose to it. There's no reason behind this group of characters coming together and doing this thing.
I still think that within Path, like for example, one thing that Pathfinder is famous for is the quality of their adventure paths.
Mm-hmm.
I think get a bunch of players, get them to crack open a book and run it.
Then you do run into the problem of they would have knowledge that they shouldn't have.
Doesn't matter.
It would with some people.
I want to do the experiment.
Like it could absolutely work, but I think you would have to have the right players for it to work. I personally would hate that. If I knew everything that was going to happen in the story ahead of time, I would hate that. Because it would be like reading a book you've already read, right? You know the twists, you know like for example, like if you had like that NPC betrayal, you know it's coming.
But the trick is to not read ahead. To actually read through the story. You have to sometimes though. Like not the way those adventure paths are set up.
I mean, I don't know about the Pathfinder ones, but quite often, like you do have to read ahead a little bit in some of the 5e ones because there'll be like calls to other pages and stuff like that. So I think it would have to change the way some stuff's written, but I think it's going to be one where you'd have to have either the right, like the AP written the right way for that to work, or you would need the right kind of players that aren't going to be too bothered about having more information than they should have.
Couch just put it in the chat, and I was actually going to say it. It's like an old school choose your own adventure.
You see, I hated those books. I hated them with a passion.
No, you just start. You start at the beginning, and you go through it. I
hated those books, so
I'm going to do it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it absolutely could work. It's just I would hate that as a player. Like, if I sat down at a table and it was like, right, we're going to read the book together, I'm going home because it just wouldn't work for me.
Now, one day I'm gonna do the experiment.
Well, don't invite me.
I'm gonna prove the point of kind of going. These systems have taken on a life of their own.
I mean, like I say, I think it can work. I just don't think I would enjoy it personally.
The only thing that I think that you would be missing is someone pre-preparing stuff like maps and whatnot. But again, it just becomes clerical work.
Even then, though, like that's normally what I do anyway. I'm the one, like, of all the people that I've played with and stuff, I think I'm probably the one that prepares maps and minis and stuff more than anyone else we've played with. So I think that isn't where I'd miss it as a player, because as a player, that's not something I've had a lot of, if you know what I mean, right? Because like all the DMs I've had, like like you, Scott, Couch, Chris, you're all very much, we'll just get some dry erase marker and sketch it out while we're going.
Yeah, that's the fun way.
No, exactly. And that's what I mean. It works great, but that's what I mean. Like in terms of prep, that's like that you could do with the way you're saying of doing it, right? You turn to the page, oh, there's a dungeon, let's sketch it out quickly, right? And it would work really well for that. Same as like with my dungeon tiles of, oh, okay, there's a dungeon, let's just plonk the tiles out quickly. Like, that's what I'm saying. It could definitely work. I just don't think as a player I would enjoy it, because I like having someone pointing me in a direction. Otherwise, I feel like there's no point to it, if you know what I mean.
No, I'm definitely I'm gonna get it set up. We're gonna give this a go.
I'm not
gonna be a GM-less Pathfinder. And it's just gonna be, we're all gonna have a core rule book, we're all gonna have a character sheet, and we're all gonna have a copy of a module. And it'll be okay.
Screw you, Couch. Couch says he's going to do it and not tell me.
So yeah, that was, it just occurred to me the other day, and the more I realize it, the more in these systems you just become a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if people are into that, that's great. Personally, I'm getting much more enjoyment out of Delta Green. I'm getting much more enjoyment out of Blades in the Dark, where it's like, okay, now we're going to create a story together. As opposed to, just, this is what you do, and this is what the book says. Fuck that.
I think as well that also maybe does come down to players a little bit, right? Because you do get some players who don't get all crunchy into mechanics, and they are just there for story, even in Pathfinder and D&D. So I think maybe that also comes down to players as well, right? But yeah, no, it'll be an interesting experiment. I won't enjoy it. I can tell you that right now. But I can definitely see it working.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can come up with something and get something set up. I've already got Couch and Stefan in the chat saying that they enjoy.
See, yeah, I can.
They'd be like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And it'd be fun to see just how off the rails it goes.
See, and that's why I think I wouldn't enjoy it too much. It's because you wouldn't have that steer, and I like the steer.
Well, you do. You just gotta keep to what it says in the book. And that's all a Pathfinder GM does.
I once had a set of players that went so far off book by page 2, I had to throw the book away.
I love going off book.
Well, the issue I had, right, it was one of my first times DMing, and it was a system I knew, but the world I didn't. Because it was the Dragon Age role-playing, like tabletop role-playing game. And it uses the Fantasy Age system, right? So it's 3d6, and I know that system.
Yeah.
So I knew how the system worked, but I know nothing about Dragon Age because I've never even played the video games, right? I know nothing about the Dragon Age world. And 2 of the players at my table were massive Dragon Age nerds. Like, one of them was my ex, who was so into Dragon Age that for one of, I think it was either birthday or Christmas or something like that, I bought them a massive like poster that was signed by the artist of the main character from one of the Dragon Age games.
Nice.
Like that level of Dragon Age nerd, right? So by the second page of the book, they'd gone so off the rails, and I knew nothing about this world. I was like, I am not comfortable DMing a world that I know nothing about off book. So I just handed the GMing to someone else. I was like, you take over. I'm going to go sit over here now.
I would have created my own world.
Well, that was the problem with it, is because they were only playing it because it was Dragon Age, right? So I didn't want to take that element away because that's why they were playing it.
Yeah, they should have stayed on topic then.
It was their first time playing a tabletop role-playing game. I didn't want to ruin the experience for them.
In your words, sounds like a them problem.
I mean, it very much was a them problem because they then went on to play in that Dragon Age campaign for about 2 years.
All right. So should we take a look at the notice board today?
Yes.
Okay. So before we do, we need to give a shout out to our partners. First, it is Deals of Opportunity. So check out Deals of Opportunity. It is an automatic, simple, and free way to save on the tabletop role-playing games you want. Just add your Drive-Thru RPG and Dungeon Masters Guild wish lists and get notified anytime a title on your list goes on sale. Just set it up and save. Our second partner tonight is 13th Moon Games. It is a family-run indie game company out of Wyoming, USA, that created the tabletop role-playing game Coven and Crucible, a game of modern-day witchcraft. If you can imagine the John Wick movies and the last witch hunter got together and had a really pretty baby, Coven and Crucible would be it. If you want to learn more or are interested in joining the official Discord game, check them out on Instagram and message them there at 13th Moon Games, or on Patreon, 13th Moon Games. We played Coven and Crucible. We loved Coven and Crucible.
Do you know what the weirdest thing is, right? Is I know that we've had that description of it before, but I completely forgot that we'd had that description of it before. And I was trying to describe it to someone because I was telling them like how much fun it was and how awesome it was. And I was literally like, have you seen The Last Witch Hunter? And they're like, yes. I was like, it's that, like, game. So that's why I was kind of laughing when you got to that bit. I was like, fuck, that's how I described it. That was literally how I described it.
No, it was, and that the John Wick sort of vibe of it all came through.
It's so good, man.
And just the lore that are presented, and
I loved it.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
And in true to form, we pissed off a lot of people.
Yes, we did.
It was, that was the beauty of it. It was, are we going to piss these people off? Yes, we fucking are. And it is going to be amazing.
There are 3 options in here. We do it and nobody's pissed off. We do it and one person is pissed off. We do it and everyone is pissed off. Which one do you think we chose? Oh, but it was so much fun. Couch also just hit me with a brilliant idea in the chat. I don't know if you've read it, but he said, get the Diablo RPG, and as we get through the first half of the first session, knock you all out, and then, I see you're awake, friend. Todd Howard strikes again.
Nice. Stefan has put, I could take Vin Diesel. Probably could. Not gonna lie.
I know where my money would be.
Yeah, my money would be on Stefan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got magic on his side.
He has got magic on his side. All right. So every week we do try and take a look at a couple of the projects that are coming out in the community. Yes. We each pick one. We try to do a deeper dive as possible as we can. Mm-hmm. And have you chosen yours for this week?
I have.
All right. It's
actually from your neck of the woods.
Ooh.
But we'll get into that once you roll for initiative.
All right. If you've got your dice next to you.
I do have my dice next to me.
You do have your dice next to you.
I got my dice tray as well.
Okay.
Which dice do I want?
Okay. Today I'm not using purple today. I'm using red.
I might use this purple then just to piss you off, because if you lose, it'll be to a purple one.
That will piss me off.
Purple.
All right. Okay. I'm using red. All right, let's roll for initiative, man. What you get?
Wait, is that what's that on top? Is that a 7 on top?
It's a 7, yeah. See, your luck is turning ever since you started 10. this. Ever since you started this podcast, your luck is turning.
The dice gods have forgiven me. I got a 10, so that means I get to go first, right?
That means you get to go first, brother.
I don't like it.
Yeah, all the pressure's on you now.
Well, I have selected something from your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods. How far into my neck of the woods?
Very. It is a Pathfinder bit of new release coming soon.
Interesting.
So it is a Pathfinder. Words escaping me. Adventure Path. That's the one. Jesus, what the hell? We just discussed this for like 20 minutes. It's Pathfinder Adventure Path that is currently in playtest and should be releasing soon. That's all we've got. We haven't got a date, but they went into playtest in December of last year for 7th to 9th level characters. So it covers a couple levels there. It is called the Avatarr of Aramil.
Okay, I'm listening.
So an Avatar of the Eight has been born in the village of Aramil, which is a new dwarf elf city. Jesus, I can't speak today. It's a new elf city that they are creating for this adventure path. So you're going to get a new city for elves as well, which would be pretty cool. So basically, the Avatarr of Eight, the whole lore behind it is every few years, or I say few years, few centuries or whatever, one of the gods is sort of arrives in a corporeal, not corporeal form, corporeal form on the planet, right? And it'll always be a different deity, and it arrives, it stays there for a few years, it does its thing, for whatever this particular deity is, right? It'll do its thing and then it'll leave again. So it'll come and make, like, if it's a god of war, it'll come and like sow war for a few years and then off it fucks, right? So the whole point of the campaign, from what I can gather, is you are not from the religion that follows this deity.
Okay.
You are very concerned about what this deity will do if allowed to freely enact its will.
Okay.
So essentially what you're trying to do is prevent that from happening. Now, there's not an awful lot of information about it other than that, and that it has gone into playtest, and the playtests are going very well. If you would like to follow along with what's happening, they have got regular updates on their Patreon, which is free for the updates. You can pay to support them if you want to. But the updates are free. And as the last one was on December 19th when they went into the playtest.
Okay.
They're expecting the playtest to last a little while because it's not like a one shot. It is a bit of a campaigny adventure path. So they're going to have to play through it a few times just to iron out wrinkles and make sure there's the correct progressions and all that sort of thing, right? Because there's nothing worse than an AP where you get towards the end and you're like, oh no, we're not strong enough. Or you get to the end and you're like, well, that was easy. So they've got to get all the scaling right and stuff like that. And they're really taking the time with it. So that is, it's been written by somebody called Sean Hook. And yeah, it's being published by Legends of Athalu. So the Avatarr of Aramil. Check it out, guys. It's going to be awesome. We'll put some links in all of the places.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have been taking a look at a podcast.
Ooh.
Now, podcasts are quite hard for us to do just because we don't really necessarily have the time to consume everything they have to offer. So a lot of it is on face value. But this is the Chaos Den podcast.
Okay.
All right. So they are mostly a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition podcast. They're based out of Ontario, Canada. They've currently got 2 campaigns that are running with weekly episodes being released Thursday mornings. There is Shattered Memories, where 4 adventurers awaken with no memory of their past and are sent on a mission to investigate mysterious happenings on the continent of Paramore. Then they also have Rise of the Ancient King, where a band of misfit heroes gather together to collect the scales of 4 ancient dragons in the hopes of obtaining enough power to take down an ancient Lich King. They also have a new segment coming out called Chaos After Dark, where husband and wife head out into the den after dark with a few drinks and board game in hand. So I started listening to one of these shows.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, Shattered Memories.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
that sounds awesome, by the way.
Started at episode 1. The reason I picked it was because you and I have discussed a similar premise from time to time. It's kind of, let's see how they do it. So, in the first couple of minutes, we realized that the band, the adventurers, consists of 2 humans, a sentient tree, and a duck. At that point, I went, and at that point, I went, oh yeah, I'm in. All right, so the sentient tree, very much based around Groot. So it's called Gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
So all it says is Gizmo.
Yeah.
However, it can write. It can write and can kind of express its thoughts like that. The duck is very eloquent and it can speak. So they all get out and they all awaken in this place. They are approached by a construct, which is the embodiment of someone that is not there, who basically tells them that he has rescued them minutes before their impending death.
Nice.
They've all been there for a different amount of times. Like, I think the duck's been there for a few days. The tree's been there for 100 and odd years. And basically, they then are let out into the world. And, dude, it is very much us. It is very much our style of humor. It is our sort of brand of offbeat fuckery.
Our brand of chaos.
Our brand of chaos. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've listened to one episode so far. I haven't listened to the other one, Rise of the Ancient King, as of yet. But right now, I'm on just finished episode 1 of Shattered Memories. I'm a fan. I've got to say, I think it's pretty fucking cool.
So how have they handled like the whole amnesia thing, right? Because like you said, that is something that we've discussed a few times of like how we would do it.
They haven't really delved too much into mechanics, but I'm getting the impression that they haven't done the whole we don't know what we're capable of. Right, I think their memories, I think their muscle memory is still there.
Right. So
they're
just
still
like the actual like the long-term memory isn't there,
yeah,
but
so,
they've still got like okay.
Yeah, so what they don't know is their story. And they had like a bit of a flashback of the moment before they died. Like the tree was in the forest and it was surrounded by fire and all this. And it is really good. And just like there's one point where they're talking to some guards and then they walk away. It's like, those guys are dicks. And it was just when that happened, it was like, yeah, that sounds like our table. That sounds like what we play, our play style, where it is very much sort of self-critiquing.
Yes.
Where we will just like completely be critical of players, like not players, but like characters in-game choices, especially when it comes to NPCs.
Yes. That's awesome, dude. That sounds so much fun. I'm gonna have to give that a listen.
Yeah, give that a listen. So it is Chaos Den Podcast. From what I can tell, it's only one feed. So to kind of pick out the individual episodes, you just have to kind of go through it. But yeah, check out Shattered Memories. I really enjoyed it. And I will probably be listening to a bit more as time goes on.
Oh, that sounds awesome, man.
All right. So I think we should take a little jaunt over to the lounge.
I think we shall. Let's get comfy.
All right. Okay. So what are we rolling today? Are we rolling a D? I think it might be a D4 today.
Yeah, D4 even. D4. Why am I saying D8?
I've got a D8 on the dice tray all ready.
Well, I mean, a D8 would just be divided by 2, so it's still a D4 at the end of the day, right?
But, all right. Okay, so you call them out then.
So 1, 2 is Couch, 3, 4 Chris, 5, 6 Sci-Fi, 7, 8 Daryl. 6.
Okay, 6.
That was 1,
2, 3, 4,
6.
That was Sci-Fi. Good old Siffy.
Yeah, let's see what's he got for us today.
All right. Okay. So
actually, we've done that one.
Yeah.
We've got the 1 left.
All right. So the 1 left. What are your go-to classes when you are playing for a different genre?
Well, you know mine.
And you know mine.
Yes. I think we've both discussed this at great length.
And Covenant Crucible was testament to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you pricks. Every single one of you, we're going to rehash my original character. I was like, yes, I'm rehashing mine.
So, yeah, for me, it was, because obviously my default character class, if we're talking Pathfinder and that other weird system, is a bard. I've always liked bards. I like the chaos that they bring. I like the ability to kind of twist and manipulate people. So the moment we went into Covenant Crucible, it was okay. So yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be a con man. I want to be, I want to pump everything I can into charisma.
Yes.
And I did, and it was fun.
I'm just laughing at Couch because he's saying that I didn't play my original character because technically I played a barbarian before I played my rogue.
Yeah, but that barbarian, what? Did it last a session?
It was 1 session because we got another barbarian in, and I didn't really want to play barbarian. I only picked barbarian because we didn't have one.
Mm.
And then I played a rogue, which is what I really wanted to play because I've been playing rogues since World of Warcraft officially released, like the first version of World of Warcraft way back when. I played a rogue in that, and then when I wanted to play terms of role-playing games, it's like, well, I know how rogues work in general. And at the time, as you well know, I was making a fairly good drinking session out of a pack of playing cards and conning drunk people in a pub. So I was thinking, rogue makes sense. It's what I do anyway, right? Am I really role playing, or am I just me? Like,
yeah. So you did. That's what you brought into Covenant Crucible.
It is, yeah.
And I mean, what? I mean, because there was another one as well. Yeah. In creating the Nerdverse, you're playing a Lurk.
Yeah, which is a rogue.
Yeah, which is essentially a rogue. Winnie the Pooh rogue.
Yes.
Oh, Willow's Bane is in chat. Who was the other barbarian in our original game?
Yes, and then teamed up as the muscle to my rogue. So we would go stand there, I'd con people and just be standing there like, no. We did make a good team. We were a good team. But yeah, no, I think rogue is definitely my default. I vibe with them really hard. Like I was just always really into that whole running cons and that sort of thing, right? I've always enjoyed like films where that's the thing, and yeah, that's always the class that kind of screamed at me. So I've always enjoyed playing around with them and fiddling.
Yes, I mean, in like, I'm just trying to think of other systems. There's I think in Starfinder, like for instead of a bard, you've got an envoy. You got an envoy.
Yeah.
Then obviously in Blades in the Dark, you've got the Lurk. There is. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the other playbook is that Eric is running. He's kind of like the bard type.
Yeah, the face.
Is it the
spider?
The spider?
Something like that, yeah.
It might be the spider. But yeah, that's kind of what I always lean to. I always kind of lean to the overly charismatic. Yeah, the charisma, the deception. And you know, I just pump everything into charisma and just start rolling dice. Like, can I talk my way out of this? Is this a situation in which I can kind of
No, you know, I'm going to try anyway.
I'm going to try anyway. And if not, I'm going to talk someone into doing something stupid.
If I can't talk myself out, I'm going to talk somebody else in.
Exactly. That's the logic, you know. Yeah. You just, you know, I mean. And the fact that I got to once again wind up one of Couch's clerics is.
Yes. That was just, it was so good to me.
I was
like with the original group, because I left quite early on. I missed a lot of that because obviously you guys continued long after I went. Like I moved away, right? And yeah, I missed a lot of that stuff of you guys, like all of you in particular, needling away at Couch.
I think. So I mean, it you know, Couch gave as good as he got. It wasn't one-sided, but it was an excellent dynamic that I'll always kind of remember. It was, they were friends and they respected each other, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, you know, we're just going to give each other as much shit as possible. And Couch has just put in the chat that one time I'll be the cleric and he'll be the bard.
Which is kind of giving me an idea.
All right.
We play a session where we all swap character sheets. So you play a cleric, Couch plays the bard, I'll play a ranger, Chris can play the rogue.
I do feel that ranger and rogue are too similar for it to be distinct.
Yeah, but you guys have to swap, otherwise it's no fun.
So basically it'd just be everybody watching what Couch and I get up to. I'm oddly okay with that.
But yeah, I think that's a very quick question for us to answer, because we are so very, very set in our default class. Now, there are some classes that I've never played that I would love to play.
Okay, do tell.
I've never played a paladin. and I really want to. Just because I really like the idea of smite.
Yeah, I like it.
I've never played a warlock. I've built many because they are one of the classes that if you multi-class into, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do in 5e with warlock. A couple of levels into warlock, but I've never like actually played one. I've built loads, so I would love to play one of my warlocks that I've built. And there was another one because I was talking about this the other day. Paladin, warlock, and come back to me on the third, but there is another one.
Okay, so Paladin, I'm already kind of playing. In Fabula Ultima, I've kind of geared my character in, he's a holy warrior, as it were.
You're playing the cleric now.
I won't call him a cleric. It'd be more leaning on Paladin. It'd be leaning, yeah, but Couch isn't in the game, so it doesn't count.
But he's all of the NPCs.
Yeah, but the thing is, even playing the Paladin, I think a little bit of that bardness kind of creeps out from time to time.
It does. I think that's just you, right?
I think that's just me.
That bardness is just you.
Yeah, I am a dick, and it's hard to pretend to be anything else.
So, yeah.
But yeah, definitely. So I can't say Paladin. I played a kineticist for one of the Society games. They are fucking awesome. So I definitely want to kind of play one of those again. I haven't played very many straight up like martial characters. I've never played a fighter or I've never played a barbarian. That I'd find interesting, but
yeah,
I don't know. Your fun and my fun are very different.
Yeah,
my fun is I can do 1,000 things. Whereas I always see fighters and barbarians as I can do one thing and I do it really well.
But see, I think that's part of the problem though, right? Is that's how a lot of people see them. But there's nothing to stop you being a charismatic fighter, right? Look at fucking Zorro. He's charismatic as fuck. He's a fighter.
Yeah, but he'd be a swashbuckler.
That's okay. He's still a rogue. He's still a melee martial fighter.
Or a swashbuckler. As the class may be.
Okay, but in 5e, that's a rogue subclass.
I'm never going to play that system.
I'm just saying it's still a martial class, right?
I'm never playing that system, so it's never going to happen.
One for me, it was a wizard.
Yeah,
wizard. Played a wizard.
I'll give you that. Wizard is definitely one that I actually had a wizard planned in one of our friends' games, and it was can I use Tales of the Valiant? Anyway, yeah, of course. So I was going to bring in a wizard, and I had the coolest character concept. I really want to tell you what it is. I know because I want to play it, but it's one of these things. I'm never actually going to play it. So, all right, fuck it. I'll tell you what it is. Right. So, my wizard was going to be a skeleton, right?
Nice.
So it's going to be a skeleton. It's going to be a skeleton wizard. And the reason he's a skeleton is because in a previous life, he was a cleric. All right. A cleric who got so obsessed with power, he wanted to become a lich. However, he got it mixed up. And instead of gaining power then dying, he died. So, now hundreds and hundreds of years have passed. Yeah, he'd misunderstood the instructions. And he
read them backwards.
He, instead of kind of going, I need to become super powerful and then die, he was like, okay, so I need to die. And then went, well, fuck. So that was the concept. And now it would be that obviously his God's forsaken him. He can't be a cleric anymore. So thousands of years have passed since then, so he has trained himself to become a wizard. So yeah, that was the character concept.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's actually
I know,
brilliant.
right?
Oh, that's so funny. Oh yeah, no, I've again, wizards are ones that I've built lots of because they're fun to take a multi-class dip in when you're theory crafting, like how much damage could I do with this, or how fast could I get, or that sort of things, right? But I've never actually built and played a wizard. I've played a sorcerer, which is like a half a wizard. I've played bards. I've played rogues to the nth degree. I've played not paladins. I've played barbarians even. I've played fucking everything else. I've played clerics. I've played druid. Druid's fun, shapeshifting and shit. But yeah, those are the three classes though that I would love to play. I think in a future time.
All right, well, we'll look into it. Right now, you've got a social media manager to play. You've got a social media manager to play and a fighter of sorts.
Yes.
So yeah, well, let's focus on them for now. But I think that's about all we've got time for, isn't it, mate?
I think so.
All right. I just want to give a big shout out once again to our partners, Deals of Opportunity and 13th Moon Games. Thank you for all your support. You know, they're great products. Do please check them out because they are absolutely fantastic. Also want to thank anybody who's kind of sent in any sort of project you want us to talk about. We get through 2 per week, so don't worry if you've sent them in. We will get to you. We will get through them, and just keep sending them in. Just keep keep them coming. Also, want to say thank you to our collaborators, Sci-Fi, Daryl, Chris, and Couch, for sending us in random topics every week to close out the show on. And I'm sure there's going to be loads more where that came from. So looking forward to it. But also thank you to you, Justin, for spending some time with me this evening.
Ah, shucks. You're welcome.
So how about you tell people whereabouts they can find you?
Sure. So I'm on most social media platforms at Justin Accurate TV. You can also find me in the Discord and over on our Facebook page.
As for me, you can find me at Natural Juan at dice.camp on Mastodon. You can also find me behind all the social media presence that we have. So if we say something stupid, I've said something stupid. But that's a daily thing anyway. You can also find us on our Facebook group. We're at Too Legit to Crit on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. If you like what we do and you want to see more, then give us a like, give us a rating, subscribe, even just tell your friends about us. Thank you to everyone who joined us this evening in the chat. Lovely to see you guys. Lovely to interact with you guys. Love you to pieces. And most importantly of all, I want to thank you to everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to listen to two idiots waffle on about tabletop role-playing games. Good night.
See you later, folks.